Today's pick six teams I really like. I'm not going to tell you I love it or I like it as it pertains to their season over-unders in college football. You ready to rock? Let's go right here. We start with Vandy. There's been a lot of love with Vandy lately. Some picking them to win the conference in the SEC. Now, I do think that's a little rich, but I do like the over 3.5. 3.5. That's the number. I like going over that. I think they've got one of the better wide receivers in the country, Will Shepard, who will be in the Harris 100. They got a returning quarterback who was, I thought, really good down the stretch. They won 2 out of 3 down the stretch, and they got hammered by Tennessee, but that was a hot Tennessee team at the end of the year. Their non-conference is Hawaii, Alabama A&M, at Wake, at UNLV to start the season. I can see them going 4-0 and you win your bet. Even if they go 3-1, it takes one win in the SEC, and they're in the East. One win. That's it. And 4 of the next 6 after starting with those 4 are at home. I think Vandy can get over that 3.5. I feel good about that. The other one is, next one is Kansas State. Over 7.5. I love this team. I love everything about the way it plays. They won a Big 12 championship last year. Now, we've seen before Kansas State teams win a championship, kind of fall off. It's a pretty talented team, especially on the offensive side. Will Howard's coming back. They've had a transfer at running back. Offensive line, 80% of it's coming back. Defense has got to find some guys to replace, especially in the secondary. But there's no Oklahoma on the schedule. They get TCU, Baylor, Houston, UCF, all in Manhattan. That's not bad. I'm going to go over 7.5. 7-5 beats you. I think Kansas State can be 8-4. I think that at a minimum. Now, this is the one that's a little bit controversial, and I'm kind of riding a trend here. And I don't want Georgia fans to freak out. Oh my God, you don't believe in it. Listen, the number's 11.5 and they play 12 games, right? So essentially, to go over, you're saying they're going to go undefeated in the regular season for the 3rd straight season with a new quarterback, having to replace Jalen Carter and a number of others on defense, after losing A.D. Mitchell in the SEC. Now, I know the flip side of this, and that is schedule is absolute garbage. But they still have to go to Tennessee. They still have to play Florida. Florida's not great. Tennessee is much better, and they got to go play them in Knoxville. One loss, and it's an under. One loss, it's under. So if you're going over, then you're banking on the fact that for the 3rd straight year, for the 3rd straight regular season, Georgia's going 12-0. 3rd straight year. I can't remember a time that's been done in college football, at least not recently. I mean, Alabama may have done it, may have. I couldn't find the years in which they would have, but they could have. But it's 3 straight years undefeated. That's 36-0 in the regular season, 3 years in the SEC. As good as Georgia is. Now, here's the opposite side of this. Georgia would be number 1 on my top 25. And I think they're going to end up winning another national championship. But I do think they'll do 11-1, even though the schedule is just awful. All right, Tulane. So with Georgia, I'm going under 11.5. I'm taking the fact they'll lose one game. They'll trip up one time. That's it, one time. And that's enough to get under. Tulane. Now, I'm rolling with this one, and you'll see why. I'm going over 9. Some have it 9.5. I've seen some at 9. Now, 9 is a good number because the only way you lose that bet is if they go 8-4. And there's no way. There's no way Tulane's going 8-4, even coming off of last year. The only way it happens is if Spencer Pratt goes Michael Pratt goes down at quarterback, and I hope that doesn't happen. I mean, if that happens, what can you do? I mean, injuries happen, so I'm not factoring in injuries. But with the moves of Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, all to the Big 12, they don't have any of those teams on the schedule. The toughest opponent is Ole Miss at home, and then after that schedule is relatively easy for that group. I think Tulane can go 10-2 at a minimum. I think Tulane can be very, very good. I like Michael Pratt, the quarterback. He'll be in the Harris 100. I think they've got a couple of game changers on the defensive line. Really love Darius Hodge on the outside. I think they could be a really surprise team. Maybe not surprised because they won the Cotton Bowl last year. Now, they got to do a lot of expectations. But to lose that bet, you got to go 8-4. So worst case, they go 9-3. It's a push. But I think you get 10-2 with this schedule. So I'm going over 9 with Tulane. I don't like going unders, but I'm going under with Oklahoma. I've seen Oklahoma at 9.5. You got it. I mean, to win the over, you got to go 10-2. 9-3 gets you a win if you're under. That's what I'm going with. So I just can't. I don't think they're going to get there. I do think that's an experienced team. A couple of key veterans. Got a good linebacker coming in. Deshaun McCullough coming in from Indiana. But they got to play Texas. There's no K-State. But that Bedlam game is going to be crazy. I mean, no matter what, no matter how talented or not Oklahoma State is, that game is just nuts. But I don't think the schedule is easy enough to match Oklahoma's talent level, which I don't know. I'm just not buying it. So I'm going to go under 9.5 for Oklahoma. I mean, 9-3 is an under and a win. So that's what I'm going with. Last and certainly not least, boy, this was a tough one. Because watching this offense can be dreadful. But Cade McNamara should make Iowa's offense that much better. They've got returning starters all over the place. A couple of the most talented players in the country, Cooper DeJean, in the secondary, whether he's playing corner, safety, or nickel, he's tremendous. I like the receiver group. Offensive line's coming back with some experience. I think Iowa going over 8.5. There's no Michigan. There's no Ohio State on the schedule. Their non-conferences, Utah State, Iowa State, and Western Michigan. Throwing the fact it's experienced, it's talented, and better quarterback play, I feel like I can get to 9-3, or let me say, Iowa can get to 9-3. And if they get to 9-3, feeling good, my friends. That is your pick 6 for today. And that